dear students, welcome to this lecture. Today we shall talk about emergence of non-state actors in development administration. The objectives for this lecture are to explore the concept of development administration, to explore the meaning of non-state actors, to see the functioning of non-state actors, to understand the emergence of non-state actors in development administration. The concept of development is not new, but still it is in an incipient stage. Since civilization, it has been growing in scope and substance, and the present nature of development greatly differs from that of the early periods. Serious attempts have been made by scholars of different disciplines, particularly after the Second World War, to define the concept of development. Brandt Commission report stated that development could never be defined to universal satisfaction. In the same note, Uphoff and Ilchman in 1972 pointed that development was in all probability one of the most depreciated terms in social science literature, and it has been used more than it has been understood. Many scholars have defined it in terms of increase in national economy. Others defined it to include social improvement, and still others in terms of increase in the capacity of the political system. While there are also others who make no distinction between development and modernization. Development is a complex phenomenon comprising of many dimensions: social, political, economic, administrative, and so on. Now there is a trend to call economic development, political development, social development, and so on. In the context of public administration, development is development administration and administrative development. Then economic, political, social, and administrative may be viewed as emerging from development without being development. So while defining the concept of development, it is necessary to take an integrated approach. The overall goal of development is therefore to increase the economic, political, and civil rights of all people across gender, ethnic groups, religions, races, regions, and countries. Development is the center of politics of the so-called third world countries, and governments play a key role in national development. Public administration is considered an important mechanism in this development process. Government uses its administrative authority to achieve national development tasks by formulating, organizing, and implementing large-scale action programs. To handle these complex activities of the government, instrument of development administration is employed. Development administration is an instrumental means for defining, consolidating, and implementing national goals in developing countries. The concept of development administration emerged shortly after the Second World War. The field of development administration can be talked about in various contexts, but its applicability depends upon mainly the systems which affect it and in turn is affected by the systems. The problem is that of goal realization, which can be linked to any setting of systems. For our sake of purpose, to link development administration with the following context. Political context. Administrative development refers to the proliferation and expansion of the bureaucratic organization as the main instrument for program implementation. Bureaucracy is an important instrument for implementation of policies. Political parties, interest groups, legislature, judiciary, electorates have an important role to play in the political development. Though one cannot discard the role played by the political parties, interest groups, legislature, courts, electorates in the political development. Fred Ricks felt that the basic requirement for a better life for the world and the people of new nations, and also expresses that political development will not be promoted on its own. There can be no public administration and economic growth without the development of administration. Economic context. Economic development not only conditions the creation of the kind and extent of bureaucracy it wishes, but also provides effective economic control over the bureaucrats, by which to assure greater efficiency and effectiveness in the administration. Precisely, it may be said that a country which has a high level of economic production can build up a strong bureaucracy capable of carrying out programs which enhance economic productivity and greatly contributes to developmental goals defined in terms of nation building and socio-economic progress. In the economic context of development administration, increase in national income enables the society to improve its administrative capabilities and thereby to contribute further to national development. Social context. The development administration is oriented to the task of sustaining improvement in social welfare. The provision of health services, housing, cultural amenities, education, and a change in the status of women, protection of children, and regulation of labor, and an improved status for workers, human rights, etc., come in the purview of social sector, which have to be administered keeping in view the national goals. These goals are taken into account because of the pressures from the formal organizations. The new states have grown in large number. These formal organizations appear to have come up in the shape of Western model, such as political parties, public and private corporations, legislatures, trade unions, associations, etc. Development used to simply mean raising a nation's gross domestic product, GDP. However, today's definition of development takes into account advancements in human knowledge, health, and the level of living. India and other nations have demonstrated that rapid economic expansion does not automatically equate to improved human development. The conventional method used production indices such as products and services produced to measure development. The revised idea is centered on people's capacity to live fulfilling lives and their general well-being. Environment, gender equality, security, education and health are among the factors taken into account. The new definition of development places more emphasis on improving people's capabilities, their freedom and ability to accomplish worthwhile beings and doings than it does on wealth alone. Enhancing the lives of citizens can be achieved more meaningfully in this way. Modern development expands people's freedom of choice and activity beyond only providing for their most fundamental requirements. It emphasizes giving people more control over their lives and getting rid of limitations that give them few options and chances. Once upon a time, development was thought to be a state-driven, top-down process. The revised idea views people as change makers rather than only recipients of benefits. Sustainable, inclusive and democratic development is achieved through this citizen-centered strategy. The increasing risks associated with resource depletion and climate change have led to a new understanding of development in terms of environmental sustainability. The idea now includes green growth, which reduces carbon emissions and uses resources efficiently. Overall, the idea of development has become more complex and wide, with a move away from narrow economic metrics and towards more multifaceted advancement that gives priority to sustainability, equity, well-being and empowerment. Dear students, let us now discuss non-state actors. Non-state actors are organizations and individuals that, while not affiliated with, directed by or funded through any sovereign government, often exercise significant political influence and territorial control. Non-state actors typically include corporations, private financial institutions, and non-governmental organizations, as well as paramilitary groups and armed guerrilla warfare resistance groups, all of which may employ violence in pursuit of their objectives. According to different narratives on international politics, non-state actors are regarded as either heroes or villains. Non-state actors claim to have achieved some success in helping to achieve both national and international development goals. Armed non-state actors, also known as violent non-state actors, are groups that threaten or use violence to achieve their goals. Non-state actors refer to entities that are not directly affiliated with a government but still play a significant role in international relations, politics, and various societal aspects. These actors can have diverse characteristics, and they include a wide range of entities such as non-governmental organizations, multinational corporations, international criminal organizations, and grassroots movements. Here are some characteristics commonly associated with non-state actors. Non-state actors operate independently of government control and are not direct extensions of any sovereign state. They often pursue their goals and objectives autonomously. Non-state actors encompass a broad spectrum of entities, ranging from advocacy groups, and humanitarian organizations to criminal networks and terrorist organizations. Their goals and activities can be varied and may not always align with the interests of states. Many non-state actors operate on an international scale, transcending national boundaries. This global reach allows them to influence and impact events and policies across multiple countries. Unlike states, non-state actors do not possess sovereign authority over a specific territory. They operate within the frameworks established by states and international law, but do not have the same legal standing. Non-state actors pursue a wide range of goals, which can include advocacy for human rights, environmental conservation, economic interests, or political ideologies. Their objectives may not always be easily categorized and can evolve over time. Non-state actors often have more flexible organizational structures compared to bureaucratic government institutions. This adaptability allows them to respond quickly to changing circumstances. While some non-state actors rely on public support, many are funded through private donations, grants, or business activities. This financial independence can influence their actions and priorities. Non-state actors contribute to shaping global governance by participating in international forums, engaging in diplomatic activities, and influencing policy discussions. They can act as intermediaries between states and communities. Many non-state actors form transnational networks, collaborating with like-minded entities across borders. This interconnectedness enhances their influence and impact on global issues. Non-state actors employ a variety of methods to achieve their objectives, including advocacy, lobbying, public awareness campaigns, direct action, and in some cases, violence or coercion. Understanding the characteristics of non-state actors is crucial for policymakers, analysts, and researchers in navigating the complex landscape of international relations and global governance. Some common and influential types and examples of non-state actors include large national or multinational corporations that are authorized to act as single entities, legally as persons, and are recognized as such in law. These are typically very large businesses operating transnationally, such as the Coca-Cola Company, McDonald's, General Motors, Adidas, Samsung, Nestle, and Toyota. Individual business magnates such as Bill Gates and Elon Musk may be considered non-state actors to the extent that they use their great wealth in seeking to influence national and international affairs. Decentralized autonomous organizations that operate according to rules encoded as computer database programs called smart contracts or blockchains. The cryptocurrency Bitcoin is an example of a DAO, which since its invention in 2009 has grown to become economically influential worldwide. International media conglomerates, which are also usually corporations, report on the social and political situation in countries worldwide and may therefore be highly influential as non-state actors. Examples of such agencies are Associated Press, Reuters, Agence France Presse, RIA Novosti, a state-owned Russian news agency, and Al Jazeera, a state-owned Arabic language international radio broadcaster based in Qatar. Non-governmental organizations, which include international non-governmental organizations, are usually large non-profit organizations seeking to effect change in humanitarian, educational, ecological, healthcare, public policy, social, human rights, environmental, and other areas. Examples of such NGOs are Greenpeace, Red Cross, Red Crescent, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and World Wildlife Fund. Goodwill ambassadors or humanitarian aid workers involved with international NGOs oversee efforts such as CARE, and Doctors Without Borders may also be considered non-state actors. People's movements in the form of mass movements, which have become influential with size and longevity. Examples include the movements arising during the Arab Spring uprisings of 2011 and the Occupy Wall Street movement against economic inequality and the influence of money in politics that began in New York City's Wall Street financial district in September 2011 and gave rise to the wider Occupy movement in the United States and other countries. Some religious groups engage in political affairs at an international level. For example, the Quakers, as a historic peace church, operate offices at the United Nations. Another example is the Taliban, which is a religious group as well as a violent non-state actor. Violent non-state actors are armed groups, including groups such as ISIS or criminal organizations such as drug cartels. Transnational diaspora communities are ethnic or national communities that commonly seek to bring social and political change to both their native countries and their adoptive countries. The Israeli diaspora is an example. Dear students, let us now discuss the emergence of non-state actors in development administration. Monitoring and evaluation is an integral part of administration. It enhances accountability and transparency of the system, reviews progress, and provides relevant feedback for improvements in planning and policy execution. Non-state actors have shown the potential to support national and sub-national governments in research, analysis, implementation, and monitoring and evaluation of various development initiatives. The involvement of non-state actors at different stages of development planning and implementation can potentially monitor and evaluate the progress of an initiative with two primary motives. First, they can increase people's participation and ownership of the development process, thereby increasing transparency and accountability in the system. Non-state actors act as a link between the government and the people. They generate awareness by disseminating information from the government to the public and also communicating the response of the public back to the government, allowing them to understand the successes and shortcomings of the policy or initiative in question, and thus provide relevant feedback for review. Second, non-state actors review policy planning and implementation by directly engaging at different stages of the policy cycle. With their capacities and knowledge in policy planning as well as implementation, they can support the process and thus provide opportunity for mutual review themselves in formulating and implementing development agenda. According to different narratives on administration, non-state actors are regarded as either heroes or villains. Optimists consider them to be the leading edge of an emerging global civil society, challenging the authoritarian tendencies of governments and the power of international capital. Supporters of the globalization movement see non-state actors as a key to building networks across borders, promoting shared understandings and even international solidarity. Realists, on the other hand, see non-state actors as either front organizations, thinly disguising the interests of particular states, or as potential revolutionaries seeking to undermine national solidarity and the stability of the state system. Non-state actors claim to have achieved some success in helping to achieve both national and international development goals, such as those around the effects of climate change. In some cases, the actions of non-state actors have contributed to filling the greenhouse gas emissions gap left by inadequate or poorly executed government climate policies. Especially over the last 2 decades, non-state actors have gained legal credibility and even recognition due to their heavy involvement in the international order. Their growing presence as a more flexible alternative to traditional governmental processes also holds them increasingly accountable to international law. Among its many other complex effects, globalization has increased the influence of corporate non-government actors, with mixed results on economic, social, and cultural rights. The economic production of many of the world's largest corporations exceeds the GDP of many countries. With operations in various countries, these corporations wield enormous power, even over countries' domestic economic policies, that challenges traditional government-based mechanisms of accountability. As countries compete with one another for foreign investment, they often relax labor and environmental standards. Some become unwilling or unable to adequately protect human and individual rights. In addition to direct violations of human rights, corporations and banks risk becoming complicit in violations of human rights when they invest in countries facing violent conflict, struggles over resources, and governmental corruption and abuses of power. The most obvious difference between state actors and non-state actors is that while state actors are the ruling governments of a country, non-state actors are the influential organizations or wealthy individuals having the potential to influence the actions of state actors but are not directly allied to a particular country. By definition, a state is a political unit holding ultimate authority or sovereignty over an area of territory and the people in it. Thus, state actors include the governments of the world's nations. For example, the United States, the United Kingdom, China, Germany, Russia, and France are some of the major and the most dominant state actors on the international stage. Unlike non-state actors, state actors such as the United States Congress hold the administrative power of a state. They have the ultimate authority in their decision-making process along with the right to possess military power. They have, for example, the legal right to declare war and use military force according to their wishes. Similarly, state actors have the exclusive authority to issue currency, levy taxes, and spend public funds. All powers that are not available to non-state actors. While state actors have traditionally been regarded as the dominant actors in the international arena, technological developments, globalization, and social movements have increased the capacity of the non-state actors to influence state actors. By not being allied with or committed to any government or state, non-state actors are free to work individually, to influence and sometimes to interfere with the actions of the state actors. While state actors pursue state-related interests as exemplified by their domestic and foreign policies, non-state actors have varied self-motivated interests. For example, IGOs and NGOs mainly intend in promoting world peace, humanitarian measures, and social services. Meanwhile, the main intention of violent non-state actors is to create political transformations. Criminal non-state actor groups engage in transnational organized crime for economic and political gains. Dear students, let us now conclude this lecture. In this lecture, we tried to shed some light on development administration and non-state actors. We tried to analyze how non-state actors play a significant and diverse role in governance system. We know that they contribute to addressing various societal challenges. However, finding the right equilibrium between their involvement and government oversight is an ongoing necessity. Through effective regulations and ethical standards, these non-state actors can continue their constructive contribution to India's governance and development. So, dear students, that is all on this topic. I hope you enjoyed learning about emergence of non-state actors in development administration. I will see you soon with another lecture on development administration. Till then, happy learning and thank you.